that incredibly frustrating moment when you're streaming a video, and right at the emotional climax of the story, the screen just freezes.
Oh, yeah. The spinning wheel of death.
Exactly. The system is buffering, and you're just sitting there totally stuck, waiting for the data to catch up to the moment.
Completely shatters the illusion, right? The momentum just, it drops out from under you. And instead of, experiencing the story, you're suddenly very aware of the machinery trying and failing to deliver it.
Right. Now, take that exact feeling and imagine that spinning wheel is, well, inside your head.
Oh, that's the worst.
It is. You're in the middle of a conversation. You have this brilliant thought. You know exactly what you want to say in your native language. But as you try to output that thought in a second language, your brain just starts buffering.
Right. The words get trapped.
Exactly. You can almost feel the mental RAM overloading.
Yeah, because you're essentially trying to run two completely different operating systems at the exact same time. You're pulling data in one language format, running it through this real-time translation filter, and then trying to format it for a totally different grammatical structure.
Which is exhausting.
It's a massive cognitive load, and eventually the system just crashes.
And preventing that crash is exactly what we're going to master today. So, welcome to today's deep dive. If you're joining us, you are a fellow learner on a journey to conquer information overload. And today, we are tackling a massive one.
We really are.
We're looking at actionable tips for thinking and speaking fluent English.
Which requires a fundamental shift in, how you process the raw data of your thoughts before you ever even open your mouth.
Exactly. So our source material today is this really great instructional video by teacher Tafani, and it's titled, Think and Speak in English, How to Talk About Your Daily Life Fluently in English.
It's a great resource.
It really is. And our mission for this deep dive is not to, just hand you a list of vocabulary words to memorize. You already know the basics. Instead, we're going to uncover a structural formula that bypasses that whole mental translation trap entirely. We want to give you the tools to sound incredibly natural, like a native speaker, when you're simply describing your everyday life.
Which, paradoxically, is often the hardest part of language acquisition.
Wait, really? The everyday stuff?
Yeah. I mean, people can master the highly technical jargon required for their specific profession, right?
Right.
But then they stumble and buffer when a colleague just casually asks them, hey, what did you do this morning?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can see that.
The unstructured nature of casual conversation is actually way harder to navigate than a structured technical presentation.
Okay, let's unpack this, because teacher Tafani introduces a foundational rule that acts almost like a blueprint for that unstructured conversation.
Right, the 5 Ws.
Yes. She argues that to speak fluently, you must first build the habit of thinking in English using the classic 5 Ws method: who, what, when, where, and why.
It's such a simple but powerful tool.
I like to think of it as a mental sorting algorithm. By forcing your brain to categorize your thoughts into these 5 specific buckets before you speak, you actually free up cognitive space.
You limit your options, which stops the buffering.
Exactly.
And the concept of cognitive constraint is so powerful here. Like, when you try to translate a sentence word for word from your mother tongue, you're fighting a losing battle against clashing grammar rules.
Right, because the syntax is entirely different.
Exactly. But if you strip the thought down to its raw elements, the who, what, when, where, and why, and then build the English sentence outward from those pillars, the translation step just vanishes.
That makes a lot of sense. You're constructing the architecture directly in English.
Precisely.
So let's test this architecture with a morning routine example from our source. Imagine a guy named Mike. We need to describe his morning.
Okay.
If we just wing it, we might stumble. But if we run it through the 5 Ws, we gather the raw data first.
Right, so let's do it.
Who? Mike, a 50-year-old man. What? He is working out hard. When? At 6 a.m. every morning. Where? At a large gym not too far from his house.
And then we hit the crucial piece, right? The pillar that most learners completely overlook when describing their day, the why.
Yeah, the why is huge.
Why is a 50-year-old man crushing a workout at 6 a.m.? For Mike, it's because he learned the importance of discipline from working on a farm and the necessity of staying in shape from his military background.
So when you feed all those W's together, you don't get a disjointed robotic list of facts. You get a cohesive, native-sounding narrative.
You really do.
You end up with a paragraph like, I am 50 years old, but I still work out hard at 6 a.m. every morning. I usually exercise at a large gym not too far from my house. People always say my consistency is impressive. Honestly, I learned the importance of discipline from working on a farm and the importance of staying in shape from my time in the military.
Notice how the flow is entirely organic.
It really is.
And within that framework, the speaker is able to deploy specific vocabulary, not as a dictionary exercise, but as strategic anchor points that elevate the whole narrative. Take the word consistency.
Right. Teacher Tefani uses her own life as the prime example of this, specifically her upload schedule for her students.
Yeah, she makes it a point to upload an English lesson every single Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time without fail.
That is dedication.
It is. And in the context of fluency, using a word like consistency does a lot of heavy lifting. It doesn't just describe a repetitive action, it communicates a reliable pattern of behavior.
Oh, I see.
So when Mike uses it to describe his workouts or Tiffany uses it for her lessons, they're signaling reliability and dedication to the listener. It's a character trait disguised as a scheduling term.
That is a great way to frame it. And that reliable pattern naturally leads to the next strategic word in Mike's routine, which is impressive. People tell him his consistency is impressive.
Right, and Tiffany smartly turns this word back on the listener, actually.
Oh, how so?
She points out that the very act of learning a second, third, or fourth language when English is not your mother tongue is inherently impressive.
Oh, absolutely.
And pragmatically speaking, when you use the word impressive in conversation, you are assigning a high value of respect to an achievement. It's a fantastic conversational tool to show admiration for someone else's efforts, which instantly builds rapport.
Yeah, I love that. And the engine behind that impressive consistency is the final key word from Mike's morning discipline, the internal mechanism that keeps him going.
The source illustrates this with that classic diet scenario.
Oh, right.
You love ice cream, you want to eat the whole carton, but you're trying to lose weight. Stopping yourself requires discipline.
It sure does.
By using this word, you're communicating to the listener that you're capable of overriding short-term impulses for long-term gains.
So Mike isn't just saying, I go to the gym. By injecting the word discipline, anchored to his past on a farm and in the military, he's sharing his core values. So we have this 5W framework, and it clearly works perfectly for a highly controlled environment like a personal morning workout. You're the master of your own domain at 6 a.m. But here's where it gets really interesting. What happens when we introduce the chaos of a collaborative environment?
The workplace.
Yeah. Does this mental sorting algorithm hold up when we shift into the office, where you're dealing with colleagues, changing schedules, and professional demands?
I would argue it actually becomes even more vital.
Really?
Yeah, because in a professional setting, clarity and efficiency are the primary currencies. Rambling or buffering in a meeting can really undermine your perceived competence.
That makes total sense. So let's run the algorithm on an afternoon workplace scenario for a team of web designers.
Let's do it.
Okay, who? My team members and I? Web designers? What? We go to a team meeting? When? Around 2 p.m. Where? In the big conference room down the hall from my office.
Yeah.
And finally, the why. Why are they meeting? To discuss how to create images, layouts, and videos for a new corporate website.
What's fascinating here is how the inclusion of the why acts as a professional differentiator.
How do you mean?
Well, if you strip away the why, you're left with a purely administrative update. I have a meeting at 2 p.m. in the conference room. It's dry, it's passive.
Right. It doesn't really tell you much.
Exactly. But the moment you add the why to discuss how we will create images and layouts for a new corporate website, you completely transform the statement.
You're suddenly an active participant.
Yes, you're driving a project forward. You're communicating professional purpose.
And just like the morning routine, this professional scenario utilizes specific locational phrasing and conversational tools that native speakers rely on to compress information.
Yeah.
Let's look at the phrase at around. The web designers have their meeting at around 2 p.m.
That phrase is a brilliant piece of social lubrication. Tiffany gives the example of throwing a party at 3 p.m. A friend has to work until 3 p.m., so they tell you they'll arrive at around 3:45. Native speakers use at around to intentionally build flexibility into the schedule. You're managing expectations, indicating an approximate window rather than a rigid deadline, which softens the pressure in both social and corporate logistics.
It's much more natural than saying, I will arrive at 3.45 in 0 seconds.
Exactly.
Another fantastic compression tool from this scenario is the phrase, down the hall from. They are meeting in the conference room down the hall from the office.
This one is all about cognitive mapping for the
And
listener.
cognitive mapping.
Yeah, when you say something is down the hall from your office, you're anchoring an unknown location to a known entity. You aren't just giving them GPS coordinates inside the building, you're giving them a relational path.
Oh, that makes sense.
Native speakers use this constantly to help others navigate complex spaces without over-explaining the whole floor plan.
Which is crucial when you're navigating massive office buildings. And speaking of scale, the word corporate serves a very similar function here. The web designers are building a new corporate website.
Right, corporate functions as a high-density compression word. Tefani references Apple as a prime example of a massive entity.
Sure.
When you say you're working on a corporate project, you don't need to waste time explaining that it's for a large, multi-level business with stakeholders and a sprawling hierarchy.
The word does all the work for you.
Exactly. The listener instantly understands the scale and the stakes involved. You convey an immense amount of context with just a single adjective.
Okay, so I see how the 5Ws establish purpose in a corporate meeting. I see how they showcase dedication in a morning workout. But I have to push back here.
Okay, go for it.
Isn't applying a rigid analytical algorithm like who, what, when, where, and why a bit robotic for the evening? Like when you're just hanging out with your friends, you don't want to sound like you're running a data analysis on your social life.
I get that, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to look at the formula as the scaffolding, not the final building.
But scaffolding is visible and clunky. If I'm out for drinks, I don't want to sound like I'm reading a police report of my evening.
And you won't, because with practice, the scaffolding drops away entirely. It becomes a subconscious reflex.
Okay.
It doesn't make you sound robotic. It actually makes you sound incredibly fluid because you are no longer pausing mid-sentence to search for the right verb tense. You've already preloaded all the required information.
Ah, so it's like learning the mechanical rules of perspective in painting, so you can eventually just sketch a room naturally without measuring every single angle.
That's a great analogy, yes.
Let's test that fluidity with the evening routine from our source. Who? My closest elementary school friends. What? Go out to eat?
When?
Every Thursday at 7 p.m. Where? Popular local restaurants. Why? Because we are foodies who enjoy spending time together after work.
Right, and listen to how warm and natural that translates. My closest friends and I have known each other since elementary school. Usually we try to hang out every Thursday at 7 p.m. We go out to eat at popular restaurants in our area because we are all foodies. But more importantly, we truly enjoy spending time with each other after work.
Wow, yeah. The analytical skeleton is completely hidden beneath the social warmth there.
Exactly.
And it introduces a whole new set of cultural identifiers rather than just corporate terms, starting with the concept of trying to hang out.
Tefani shares a memory of living in South Korea and inviting friends over to cook for them. They weren't hosting a formalized event, they were just hanging out.
Right.
Functionally, using the phrase hang out signals a shift in psychological state. It tells the listener that the primary goal of the gathering is decompression and unstructured connection. It strips away any expectation of formality.
And when they aren't decompressing at her house, they go out to eat, which sounds simple, but there's a nuance there compared to just saying we eat.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Going out to eat implies a geographic and experiential shift. It isn't just about caloric intake.
Right.
You're leaving your home, entering a new environment, and paying for the experience of letting someone else handle the preparation and the cleanup. It elevates the meal from a biological necessity to a dedicated social activity.
And the reason they dedicate that time and geographic shift is because they are foodies. This isn't just a descriptive word. It feels like an identity marker.
It is entirely an identity marker. A foodie isn't just someone who likes food. It's cultural shorthand for someone who views culinary exploration as a hobby and a passion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Tefani highlights her love for Indian, Mexican, Haitian, and Mediterranean food. When you identify as a foodie in conversation, you're immediately broadcasting a set of shared values to the listener, an appreciation for culture, flavor, and experience.
So what does this all mean? We've traveled from a grueling 6 a.m. discipline at the gym, through the high-stakes compression of a 2 p.m. corporate meeting, to the relaxed identity signaling of a 7 p.m. dinner with friends.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. But why go through all this cognitive effort to structure our thoughts? Is the end goal simply to pass an English proficiency exam with flying colors?
The exam is irrelevant in the grand scheme.
Right.
Yeah. The true purpose of language, the real reason we're trying so hard to eliminate the mental buffering, is to remove the friction that prevents genuine human connection.
That is wow. The source material provides a beautiful, detailed narrative that encapsulates this perfectly. It's a story about Tiffany and a Korean teacher named Annie.
Yes, I love this story.
To set the stage, Tiffany had been living in South Korea for 8 years, fully established in the major city of Seoul. She went home for a short break, and upon returning for her final stint, the head office completely disrupted her life. They placed her at a brand new, very small school on the outskirts of the city.
She was pushed into the suburbs, right?
Yeah.
A much quieter, more isolated area.
Yeah.
This was a jarring environmental shift. She went from bustling schools with 20 teachers to a tiny faculty of just 3 or 4 Korean teachers and a couple of foreign teachers. You can imagine the apprehension and the sense of isolation she must have felt being uprooted from her community like that.
Absolutely. And into this highly constrained, unfamiliar environment steps Annie. Now, initially, their dynamic is the textbook definition of formal.
Very strict.
Yeah, Tiffany notes that Annie was strictly about business. She was highly organized, very serious, and focused entirely on the work. Tiffany, being a professional herself, respected this boundary.
It was cordial, but there was a distinct wall there.
Right.
Annie eventually asked Tiffany if she would teach her the Bible in English. Since Annie spoke excellent English and Tiffany spoke Korean, it became a mutually beneficial language exchange.
But even then, studying together for weeks, it remained a strictly transactional workplace relationship, right? They respected each other's discipline, but there was no actual bond.
Exactly. But then we hit the turning point.
Yes. Out of nowhere, in the staff room, Annie casually asks,
Yeah.
"Do you want to go out to eat for lunch?" She suggests an Indian restaurant a fair distance away.
And remember, Tiffany's identity marker, she is a massive foodie, and Indian cuisine is her absolute secret favorite.
Right. But Tiffany maintains her professional exterior, calmly agreeing that it sounds nice, while internally she is just incredibly excited. So the next day, they make the trip.
And the sensory details of this lunch are what make the story so impactful.
They really are. They sit down, the atmosphere is still relatively polite, and then the food arrives. Tiffany describes seeing the steam rolling off the curry. She sees the fresh naan bread. Her nose instantly recognizes the perfectly balanced seasonings.
Her foodie instincts are telling her this is going to be an authentic, incredible meal.
Exactly. They both take a piece of the naan, they dip it into the rich curry, and they take a bite at the exact same time. And in that precise moment, the formal walls completely collapse.
That's amazing.
They both have this spontaneous, visceral reaction of absolute delight. Tiffany vocalizes how amazing the food is, and she hears Annie make the exact same sound of culinary appreciation.
They look at each other, and the realization washes over them. They are both foodies.
That single shared concept, that identity marker, fundamentally altered the trajectory of their relationship.
This raises an important question, though, about how we fundamentally view the act of learning a language.
What do you mean?
Well, vocabulary isn't just a sterile list of definitions to be memorized, you know. It's a bridge capable of spanning immense cultural divides. Here you have 2 professionals from entirely different backgrounds navigating a stressful, isolating new environment, and they find profound connection not over their professional credentials, but over their shared identity as foodies sharing a plate of curry.
It instantly dissolved the corporate formality. After that single lunch, they began going out every single week.
Oh.
They would willingly drive 45 minutes each way in the middle of a busy workday just to experience great food together, rushing back for their afternoon classes.
That is dedication to being a foodie.
It really is. That shared passion, which could only be discovered through fluent, unstructured communication, forged a friendship that Tiffany noted was still incredibly strong 4 years later.
And that is the ultimate payoff of everything we've discussed today. The goal isn't grammatical perfection for its own sake. The goal is to reach a level of cognitive fluidity where you can share your authentic self, your passions, your routines, your actual reality with another human being without a language barrier distorting the message.
That is an incredibly powerful framing.
Yeah.
So, as we bring today's deep dive to a close, let's lock in the core mechanism. The 5 W's who, what, when, where, and why are not training wheels you're meant to be embarrassed by.
Not at all.
They are the cognitive building blocks you use to organize your reality. Whether you're demonstrating discipline at the gym at 6 a.m., establishing purpose in a corporate meeting at 2 p.m., or signaling your shared values over dinner with friends at 7 p.m.
It is the most reliable algorithm available to bypass the mental translation trap and free up your cognitive RAM.
Exactly. So here's my direct challenge to you tomorrow morning. The moment you wake up, run your own morning routine through the 5 W's in English.
I love this.
Who are you? What are you doing? When? Where?
Yeah.
And most crucially, why? Practice that think then speak formula in your head before your feet even touch the floor. Build the scaffolding.
And remember, the daily repetition is what forces the scaffolding to become entirely subconscious.
But I want to leave you with one final lingering thought to mull over as you practice this. The source material is adamant that you must always explicitly include the why when describing your daily routines.
Always the why.
Why are you working out? Why are you attending that meeting? If the language we use actively shapes our perception of reality, how does explicitly forcing ourselves to articulate the why behind our most mundane daily tasks actually change the way we view the purpose of our own lives?
That's deep. By constantly clarifying our motivations for others, do we inevitably clarify our own purpose for ourselves?
That is something fascinating to consider the next time you feel your brain start to buffer. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey today. Keep practicing the formula, keep digging for your why, and we will catch you on the next one.